Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Run. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have, as usual, like I always tell you, we're going to have what again? We're going to have a great show for you today. Today we have two special guests, one here in Houston, the other one in Washington, D.C., discussing not only Madison, Wisconsin, or what's going on throughout the state in Wisconsin with forcing our citizens to vote during the coronavirus problems. Think about this, people. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Anyhow, though, before I get real busy with the program, Michael Rudnin, welcome aboard. The death of our citizens has become a partisan decision. That is true, but I am going to give a little caveat to that, my brother Rudnin, with regards to the election in the Democratic side. But I read you. Anyhow, folks, the title of the show today is Madison Paige, Wisconsin COVID-19 voting fiasco, and Nisha Randle, DNC, and much more. But folks, before we get started, yesterday I watched an interview with Nancy Pelosi and Rachel Maddow that I think everybody needs to see. And I'm going to do it in two kind of pieces, right? Because after I watched that, I kind of fell in love with something that Nancy Pelosi said. So I kind of improved on what I think Nancy Pelosi was putting out there. And you're going to see what I'm talking about after I show the first interview with Rachel Maddow, and then I'm going to show you that stuff with her. So check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
What do you say to the American people tonight who may be concerned about the prospects for the November election, who may see the crisis that we're in and the kinds of decisions that are being made, the kind of political maneuvering that's happening around this election, for example, tomorrow in Wisconsin, people who are worried that maybe we won't have a presidential election or that we won't have one that has a actual meaningful test of the American public's preferences as to who we want?
Well, I first say that I'm so proud of all of our presidential candidates because they all understood that elections are about the future. What is your vision for the future? What do you know and have a passion about having a strategy to get something done around it? And how do you connect to the kitchen table needs of the American people? They all were wonderful in that respect. As we go forward, I get back to what I said before. We don't agonize, we organize. We must make sure that people get to the polls and vote. And there's time for us. Hopefully this virus will be beyond us then, but even if not, then we organize in the reality that we're in. But I just have to say to them to know their power. They have the ability to make the difference for the future. The stakes could never be higher. All you have to do is look at one press conference, and you see them every day, and the press insists on showing them every day. And you understand that this country has to go in a better direction to meet the needs of all of the American people, values-based, evidence-based in our decisions and the rest. So I would... They're the boss. I just finished a town hall meeting with my bosses, the people of San Francisco, and I respect what they believe and the standards they set for their elected officials. The people have to understand they are the boss of America. The choice we have in that election is up to them to decide. But you don't count if you don't vote. So let's just every single day, as we are in these atmospheres of shelter at home and the rest, use all the time we can to make sure that every day we make progress in getting more people to the polls. And I always say it's all about the children. So as we do this, just remember it's for the children.
I'm Egberto Willis, host of Politics Done Right, an independent news program. I post several news videos of interest every day. Now we go. Now we have it. Anyhow, what I want to say here is this, folks. I thought Nancy did a great job there in saying what she needed to say, but I wanted to give it with a little bit more punch. So I want you guys to tell me if you like this that I did with it. I took that interview and kind of cut it up a little bit, And because I really thought she had a message in there. Tell me what you think about this. Check this out.
We don't agonize, we organize. Get to the polls and vote. Organize in the reality that we're in. Know their power. Make the difference for the future. We don't agonize, we organize. Hopefully this virus will be beyond us then, but even if not, we don't agonize, we organize. The stakes could never be higher. All you have to do is look at one press conference. Press insists on showing them every day. You understand that this country has to go in a better direction to meet the needs of all of the American people. Values-based, evidence-based in our decisions and the rest. But you don't count if you don't vote. So let's just every single day we don't agonize, we organize.
I thought, using her phrases and putting it in different places kind of made some sense to kind of push the message. So tell me, guys, you guys tell me if you like that. Anyhow, Michael Rudnin, welcome aboard. New to golf, welcome aboard. But are you really new to golf? And yes, these are crazy times. Bruce Pollard, hello from YouTube. How you doing, my brother? How are you doing, my brother? And then, of course, we have Lawrence Sims, my regular. How are you doing? Welcome aboard. Folks, we're going to have two solid interviews. The first one I want to do is I just got through doing it with Madison Paige. So check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. Let me make sure I get the right one. Welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. I'm here with Madison Paige. Madison is the co-founder and CEO of Bold Blue Campaigns. And Madison's going to tell us about her hour with what's going on in Madison and a little bit about her, about Bold Blue Campaigns. Madison, tell me what's happening in Wisconsin.
Well, today, Wisconsin had their primary. And one of the things that they have been trying to do, people on the ground, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. And people have been saying, we've got all the experts saying we need to practice social isolation. We need to practice, distancing and self-isolation. And people who are there in the state who are concerned about the possible health implications of people showing up in mass at polls have said, we need to put this election off. We need to postpone it. And many other states have done that. A lot of other jurisdictions have decided to postpone their primaries. Wisconsin did not. They sent out some vote by mail ballots, and unfortunately, they did not arrive on time to people. The Supreme Court just yesterday made a decision that they would not allow vote by mail ballots to be counted if they arrive after the Tuesday election. One of the big problems is that in Milwaukee, they went from having over 300 polling stations to now less than 10 polling stations for the entire city. So what we're talking about is an incredible public health crisis where people are congregating in order to exercise their right to vote. This is not only disenfranchisement, but it's also a willful disregard for the public health.
Now, Wisconsin now has a Democratic governor who attempted to do the right thing. The Supreme Court in Wisconsin, as I understand it, they went against the government. The Supreme Court, the federal courts then said they gave them more time, and then it went to the Supreme Court, and by a 5-4 vote, they overturned the lower court justice. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And again, this is one very, very important reason. One thing I just really want to say, not only is it important who we elect at the federal level, because these Supreme Court justices obviously are biased and they're creating these, they want to support, they were appointed by Republicans. But even in our state courts, the Wisconsin Supreme Court did the right thing. They understood the implications. And the governor tried to do the right thing. The governor also appointed the DHS secretary, but she has not been confirmed by the Republican-controlled Wisconsin legislature. It really matters, not only who is president, but who is governor, who is mayor. Those things really, really matter. Because mayors all over the state of Wisconsin have been urging the secretary to postpone the election. All of these mayors are saying this is a threat to public health. We don't want our citizens to be standing in close quarters to, even if it is to exercise a franchise. Let's
you know what?
postpone this election.
I don't know how you feel about this, but because I don't know, even within the Democratic Party, I don't know what side of the aisle you are on per se, but I felt like the DNC themselves weren't really urging the stoppage of these different elections either, which I think is problematic because it goes against everything Democrats should believe in.
I absolutely agree with you. I think there is a failure of leadership right now at the Democratic National Committee level. I think we ought to be pushing very hard for absolute mandatory vote by mail for this cycle. We have a big problem. We are in the midst of a global pandemic. And in the United States, this pandemic is not controlled well, in part because of failure of leadership in the White House. The Democratic Party, the number one job of the Democratic Party is to ensure that that Democrats get elected. Right now, we are facing a situation where there should be a lot more leadership happening. We should be saying, look, let's get people signed up for vote by mail. Let's push in whatever channels are necessary to make sure that people will have the opportunity to exercise their franchise come November, because we don't know where we're going to be 6 months from now with this pandemic. And what is inevitably going to happen is if we are not in a better place 6 months from now, there'll be a panic in 4 months. And people will say, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? It's time to think ahead. It's time to understand how things are working and to think ahead and to take the steps that are necessary. I am very disappointed that I don't see more leadership on this issue than I do right now.
And that is interesting because you're correct. Nancy Pelosi came out and said that within this fourth stimulus bill, they're going to try to put vote by mail into the bill. We'll see if that really comes to pass. But as far as the leadership is concerned, you talk about leadership. I agree with you, but also what I see missing a lot is a sense of urgency. It's as if these folks don't understand that voting is within 6 months or so. We are already in April. And when we talk about something like your company, Bold Blue Campaigns, there's something that you said earlier off before we came online that I think is very concerning. And when you stated that, the people that you are working with, helping their campaigns, you guys have to decide how you're going to campaign now because it's not going door to door anymore.
Yeah. We have over 500,000 elected positions that come up in a cycle every year or two. These are local campaigns, city commissioners, school board candidates, judges, mayors, police chiefs, state legislative representatives, state Senate candidates. These candidates and these campaigns usually are not the ones that are buying, doing a $10 million ad buy to run their campaigns. They're knocking on doors and they're meeting people out in their communities. And all of that has to stop now. Democrats have to understand that not only for years have we failed to support these smaller campaigns, which is what we do at Bold Blue, but in this new environment of coronavirus, where these campaigns are even more crippled, they're going to be more crippled financially, they're going to be more crippled in terms of outreach. We actually have to act decisively now. We've got to come up with actionable solutions because the elections are going to happen. And what we can't afford to do is to cede more territory to a Republican Party that has demonstrated itself to be evil, irresponsible, and incompetent.
Madison, I just interviewed Nabila Islam. She is running in Georgia. And there's yet another problem with these independent candidates. And it is that one of the reasons she had to stop a whole portion of her campaign is that also she was left without health insurance. And especially with Corona, she cannot do anything going forward as far as electing. So she's doing a full-fledged social media campaign, email campaign, and have surrogates all over the place, where I think it's sort of kind of the work that you guys do at Bold Blue Campaigns as well.
Yeah, we have actually, how do we advise our candidates now, right? How do we help them run their campaigns now? And we've actually made the decision to expand what we do for them, because we recognize that they're going to be even more constrained by the limitations, financial limitations, as well as the limitations imposed by the coronavirus pandemic. We are so lucky that we and so fortunate and grateful for the grassroots support that we get, which allows us to be able to offset costs to candidates and campaigns. But we're actually expanding what we do for them, because they're going to need it. They're going to need the help. And we feel like if they're going to be on the ballot, they should get help. One thing that we are working on actively with candidates and campaigns, a lot of them get on the ballot by signature. That's something that can't be done anymore. So what we're working with a lot of candidates and campaigns, talking to state elections offices, is alternate methods of being able to qualify for a ballot through signatures. We can't just go out and get people to sign a paper anymore. So we're working with a couple of elections offices to see if there are some alternatives that can be implemented, so that our candidates can actually get on the ballot in the way that with the signatures.
Now, are you finding any of those right now? Do they have sort of online methods of doing that now, or not?
A lot of these elections offices are, frankly, way behind the curve electronically, and I don't think that any of them really anticipated. I can't really blame them per se. I mean, a signature is not usually something that's difficult, right? You go out into the community, you have people sign
it's
to
a
get
blood
you on
and
the ballot.
flesh and blood kind of a thing, yeah.
We
it
often
actually makes you go meet people.
Exactly. I mean, we actually recommend that our candidates do this so that they can get out into the community, even if they can afford to pay the fee to get on the ballot. We just prefer that they go out and meet people, because it's a great way to begin your campaign. However, a lot of the systems just don't exist. Now, the technology exists to do legal signatures, right? Virtually, but most of the offices are not set up to do that right now. So this is, again, coronavirus is presenting a lot of challenges to candidates, to campaigns, to politics, and we have to be able to be flexible enough to make these changes while we continue to make sure that the democratic process is happening. This is why I'm so disappointed by what's happening in Wisconsin. Complete inflexibility with respect to the public health crisis that we're facing, and the fact that there are going to be hundreds of people today exposed unnecessarily to this deadly virus.
And this, in effect, what the Supreme Court did, what the Republican Party in Wisconsin did, what the Supreme Court in Wisconsin did, is going to be voluntary manslaughter sanctioned by state. It sounds harsh, but they know that by having more people exposed than they needed to for the vote when there were alternative methods, that could have been mitigated. So,
yeah.
Madison Paige, you are absolutely right in that statement. Give me a little closing statement before we go here. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about what Bold Blue campaigns are all about, and we'll go from there. You think they're going to have a Netroots this year?
I don't think they're going to be able to do that. I think any gathering of more than any gathering of people together is just really too risky. And if I know liberals and progressives, we care about listening to the science and the experts, and to make sure that we're thinking in terms of what's best for the greater good, right?
Oh, well,
So I think we'll
absolutely.
probably have a virtual net roots this year.
That's what we may have because CPAC went ahead and did theirs full-fledged, and a lot of people, including some politicians, ended up with COVID-19. So give me a closer, Madison.
Well, we believe that politics is trickle down doesn't work in economics, and a trickle down doesn't work in politics. We believe that if we want to build we want to build the liberal, progressive policies that we want. If we want to create the America that we all envision, we have to start from the bottom. We have to start from the bottom of our school board candidates, our city council candidates, our state legislatures, and build our way up. All of those candidates and campaigns, all of those people are the ones who actually are making the rules and the decisions that affect our lives on a day-to-day basis. And we want to make sure that people are aware that these people are so vitally important. I think people are starting to understand that when they see what's happening in their communities around this coronavirus. They're seeing the power of mayors. They're seeing the power of governors and the people in their communities. Government can work when you put competent people in it who have the right values. And what we try to do is make sure that those people who are running for office, who have those values that we all share, have all the support they need. We're grassroots funded. That keeps costs low for candidates. And it's a passion that we have, and it's a duty, I think, too.
Madison Paige, co-founder and CEO of Bold Blue Campaigns. I'll see you at the next Nets Roots. You have a wonderful day, and thank you for the interview.
Thank you so much, Rojo.
Well, folks, that was Madison Paige out of Washington, D.C. Let me tell you, we had a good conversation both on and off air. We have a lot of work to do, but, we're going to get it done. We're going to make sure, folks, we are going to absolutely make sure that come election time, we are ready, come election time, that we can actually get the work done. Anyhow, the next part of the program is with Nisha Randle. Nisha is how should I say this? She is the Deputy Communications Director of the Texas Democratic Party. She has a lot of work to do, and she took a little bit of time out of her daily work to spend some time with us. So let's go ahead and play her right now, and then we'll take it on the other side. Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm here with Nisha Randle, Texas Democratic Party's Deputy Communication Director and indivisible Houston Vice President. But I actually know her as one of the premier activists here in Houston, Texas. Nisha, how are you doing?
I am doing okay under the circumstances.
Well, are you bored yet? I know you've been home for a long time, even though you said you kind of escaped and went to HEB, the grocery store, a few times.
Yes, I have gone to the grocery store.
Did you use the grocery store sort of like let me get the hell out of this house?
Yeah, sorta.
Sorta.
Yeah.
Just sorta.
Just because I don't cook and so it's, restaurants being closed and not being able to go anywhere, you kind of have to go to the grocery store now. So
are you cooking?
I'm cooking food that doesn't really require cooking, so a lot of things that I just throw in the microwave.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, look, you've been doing a whole lot of stuff. I mean, you've been out there with the Women's March and trying to arrange people to get together outside and do things. What is this kind of lockdown doing to the movement?
I think it's kind of having us reevaluate how we connect with people. Right now, everybody's at home and like they're doing what we're doing right now is talking to each other remotely, utilizing video tools or phone calls. And we just have to kind of get creative in how we engage with people now.
Now, as director of the Texas Democratic Party, Deputy Communications Director of the Texas Democratic Party, I kind of think this sort of happened at the worst time. How are we going to handle getting the messaging out? How are we going to handle things like the convention, the Texas State Convention, etc. Do you have any news on how we're going to be doing those things?
We're still working out the details on the convention. It's still going to happen. We're just trying to figure out how we can do it, where we can get as many people to participate remotely.
Hmm.
Honestly, when you think about it, it kind of opens it up to people who couldn't afford to come to the convention before. They can watch it from home. I mean, there's just like kind of twofold to it. It's going to be interesting and a challenge to figure out how we get all the parties' business done remotely, but then we also have the opportunity to open up the whole process to a lot of people that weren't involved in it before.
Now, so is it almost a foregone conclusion that there won't be an in-person Texas Democratic Convention in Texas this year?
No, there won't be. I think we came out with that last week, that it will be virtual, remote, whatever you
Hmm.
want to call it. Yeah.
And when you say virtual remote, are we talking about zooming in people to talk, or what are we going to do?
Zooming panels, Zooming the actual convention business, pre-recorded sessions for constituency groups and things like that. We're just still, trying to figure out how it all works, and we're in the planning stages of, you know, how many people can we actually get in a room? Does that even make any sense? Can we do everything completely remotely? Yeah, so I mean, that's where we are, and I think a lot of people are really committed to making this work for people. And like I said, there's going to be so many people who get to see the actual party doing business that haven't had that opportunity before. So, we're trying to look at on the bright side of this insane circumstance we all find ourselves in right now.
Now, delegate selection is usually a thing where you want to it's sort of a touchy-feely thing, right? You're trying to convince a group of folk, hey, I want to be a delegate, and you go and you talk in the back room and that sort of thing. All of that is sort of done with. Are we going to have some sort of a mechanism where I can't picture how we would do that online, but how we would do that online so that we know who are the people within our, let's say, Senate district to talk to become the delegate for the particular candidate we want to be delegating for?
I think initial round of who delegates are has come out. I think a list of other delegates and delegates that haven't been assigned yet is still coming. This is a question that I need to talk to somebody else in the office, but I can definitely come back and give you some more information about that.
Okay, that's excellent. Now, do we expect? I think the Democratic Party has moved the convention to August, and so I think they're hoping that by then we can actually have an in-person convention like we did in 2016 in Milwaukee this year. Do you really feel that's going to happen?
I don't know. I mean, I think everybody is taking this kind of like day by day, although we probably need to be thinking 3 to 6 months out.
Hmm.
But in a situation that nobody's been in before in this country, it's just kind of hard to see. We'd love to be able to all get together in Milwaukee, but if we can't, then we'll make sure that, we have an experience that does the business of the party. We nominate, or we get a nominee, and, do what we have to do, but nobody's going to compromise anybody's health or safety or anything like that.
All right. Well, now let's switch from Democratic Party now to Indivisible Houston. Tell me a little bit about what has Indivisible Houston's been doing. Is it going to be able to? Is there a new functioning that you're going to do to try to keep all those people that you had engaged during this crisis?
Like I said, everybody's trying to engage people online. The old saying, you got to meet people where they are. And
Right.
this is really where most people are right now. I think it's also interesting because when you have the opportunity, before all of this happened, people got their news and everything and different streams that they were tailored to themselves. But now I think we have more of a captive audience than we've had before. We had our first virtual Zoom meeting last week, and it went really well. We're planning to have another one next week where we'll talk about, how we can still maybe register voters, which is sucky in Texas because you can't do it online or
Online.
anything like
Yeah.
that. And then we'll talk about how we really want to push the vote by mail option, because who knows what's going to happen in November. And that's probably going to be the best way that we can make sure that we get as many people out to vote as they can. Well, not out to vote, but are voting if we work on that. So we're just trying to figure out, how we adapt in this uncharted territory we're in right now.
You know what is interesting? I read a piece from Georgia yesterday where one of the Georgia leaders said that if vote by mail is instituted, Republicans are going to be wiped out. I guess they really mean because if you get more people voting,
I
that's
mean,
not a.
we always know that, though.
Yeah,
That's always the case. And maybe that's why we don't have the option right now in Texas to vote by mail for, that's expanded. You would kind of think in the middle of a pandemic that everybody be jumping on the opportunity to let people vote by mail. But, there's still that struggle against voter suppression and people who don't want the majority's voices to be heard.
would that require a special session of the Texas legislature to
I'm not
do that?
sure that would require that at all. I think that could be something that the Secretary of State and county voting officials, county clerks, were able to kind of work out. It's going to take some planning, and it can't be something that we decide to do in October and then we just make it happen. If we
Right.
need to vote by mail in the general, we're going to need to start making plans to do that now. And honestly, I don't know why we can't just, in Texas and around the country, have an initiative where we just let people vote by mail. I mean, we're smart enough to figure out how to do it. There's other states who do it, but then there's states like Texas who don't want you to vote. So
Right. Well,
that's kind of
that
what we're up against.
that goes without saying. Okay. Well, let's talk about you now, Nisha. Nisha, how are you doing? I mean, one of the things that, and I tell you this on Facebook all the time, is I get sometimes watching you, I get tired because there's so
What?
much, there's so much that you're always doing. I mean, you're always moving. That's why I kind of wonder if you feel like you're in prison right now because you aren't out there like you always are.
I think I miss talking to people more than anything else. I, you know, I'm just, when you work in an office or in this, like mine, you're in a room with your colleagues all day and you're talking about work and what you saw on TV last night or what you're going to do this weekend, and you just kind of miss that. Um, there's all these things that I plan to learn how to do. Like I was going to knit, and then I was going to like hang up all my clothes and all this stuff. And I still haven't gotten there yet,
Did you
but
say knit?
yeah, knit. I'm
Really?
Yes, I'm gonna learn how to
I thought
knit.
I heard you say knit earlier, and it's like
Yes, I
Nisha
did. I'm gonna
knit.
knit you a coaster.
Okay, I'm waiting on my coaster. Okay. Hey, you know what? I want one that says politics done right. Then
Oh, okay. We'll see.
you'll see about that one.
We'll have to see about that one.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. All right.
yeah.
So yeah, but other than so when did you go lockdown before the order came or
Right before the order came.
uh huh? And is
So
everybody in the office
I
just
was in
fine that you know?
Austin working, and then I came home for the weekend, and they were just like, just stay there because we're not gonna have the office open.
Right.
And so we initially thought it would be like to the first week of April, and then maybe the middle part of April, and now it looks like it's going to be the end of April, at the very least. So
Now, Nisha, with your new position as the deputy director, are you still here in Houston or are you somewhere else now?
I haven't officially moved. I'm just kind of going back and forth. I
So,
was
and
before.
it's in Austin, right? Or
Yes, in Austin.
well, you know what? There's Austin. That is my town. I simply
Really?
that's where I went to school, and that's where I Barton
Okay.
Springs
I don't know
and
why I hadn't
Mount
talked to you about
Bonnell.
Austin then.
Huh?
I got to Austin and I was like, I hate this city.
You
And
hate Austin?
I didn't really hate it. I was just missing home.
Oh yeah,
So,
you miss home, but you know what?
yeah,
When you get into when you get there, Austin is kind of weird, and I'm weird, so I mean,
yeah.
it's it's one of those kind of cities. I just love the place. What happened though is I think your entire clique is here in Houston, so
Yes, my clique. we roll deep.
You roll deep with your click. We see
We roll
you.
deep, and they were all like, "I can't believe you're doing this. You're leaving us." But I was like, "Hey, I'm coming home every weekend," and
But Austin isn't leaving. You don't even have to come every weekend. The
I
posse
know.
just have to come up and look for you every so
I mean,
often. And
that's what we were planning to do. Like, they would come up a weekend, I would come down a weekend. I still have my place here, and I love it, and I'm not giving it up. So
yeah, well, that's the name of the game. When you
yeah.
when you become the big shot, or rather,
Oh
what should I
no,
say? When you become the bigger shot, when you start to run things.
I'm so not running anything.
Well, I
But
mean, actually, I
okay,
think I think you're doing like a boss job. That is all what it's all about. So
thank
anyway,
you.
so look, so you're doing fine. We're doing
Hmm.
fine with regards to what's going to happen in the election. And as far as your activism is concerned, now that you're kind of deeper in the party, you can't participate as much. But you know what?
Hmm.
I think the legacy that you've left already down here, you have enough folks to kind of. No,
Yeah,
I tell you that all the
I
time.
know, but it's so not true. It's not true.
It is so
But
true. Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that. I
It
do.
is so
Thank
true.
you.
So anyhow, Nisha Randle, Texas Democratic Party Deputy Communications Director, Indivisible Houston Vice President, and activist. Give me a little closing statement. Tell the people something, and then we'll finish off here.
Um, I just want everybody to remember this is hard. For so many people, and those of us who still have jobs and are complaining about being able to work from home, I think we need to be grateful. I think if you can help anybody, um, try to help somebody, um, and just take care of each other.
You know what? That is so important. And I like what you just said. A lot of people have the ability to work at home right now. We don't have anything to complain about.
Hmm.
The people on the front line are the folks that are sweeping your floors on the outside, picking up your
Right,
garbage, and also working in those grocery stores. And don't
right,
forget the doctors, the nurses that are putting all of their
yeah.
lives on their line. So you're so right about that, Nisha. Nisha Randle, thank you so kindly for being with
Thank you.
Politics
It's
Done
so
Right
good to see
today.
you, Egberto.
It's great to see you too.
Miss you.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see each other pretty soon. Take care, my
Yeah.
friend.
Okay.
Well, folks, that was Nisha Randle, a good friend from uh, Indivisible Houston and from the Democratic Party, and from, we do a whole lot of stuff where we've interfaced together. She is one of the premier activists here in Houston, Texas, now in Austin, Texas, as the Deputy Communications Director for the Texas Democratic Party, which I think they have a great spokesperson right there in Nisha Randle. Okay, it seems like we were able to get back. Well, I thought we were able to get back online, but guess what? It started to go online, and as soon as we started to transmit, we lost it. So it seems like they may have some issues with that connection as well. Anyhow, let's get busy. I want to talk to you guys about something else, and this is important. Um, the president has been pushing, what is it? What is the drug called? Hydroxychloroquine. Hydroxychloroquine. Everybody needs to be on it. Man, maybe I'll take it too. I think I showed you a video, and I don't know if I still have that video somewhere, where the president is there talking about it and misleading people who are on lupus. But actually, you know what? I want to play this to you because I want to show you how deep it goes. Check this out.
The hydroxychloroquine is I hope it's going to be a very important answer. We're having some very good things happening with it. There's a study out that people with lupus aren't catching this horrible virus. They're not affected so much by it. Now, maybe that's correct. Maybe it's false. You're going to have to check it out. But there's a lot of very positive things happening with that. That's a game changer if that's the case.
I was wondering about what you're seeing as far as lupus patients in regards to coronavirus. I know the president mentioned this earlier, but what does the medicine say?
What is the question? Is that what is the incidence of coronavirus?
If you have lupus, do you have a greater chance of getting coronavirus?
There's right now. This is being looked at in a natural history study. We don't have any definitive information to be able to make any comment on that. But that's something that is now being looked at. But we don't have any data to be able to say anything.
And I hope they use the hydroxychloroquine, and they can also do it with Z-Pak, subject to your doctor's approval and all of that. But I hope they use it because I'll tell you what do you have to lose? In some cases, they're in bad shape. What do you have to lose? It's been out there for a long time. They're going to look at work with doctors, get what you have to get. But we have it stockpiled. We have a lot of it. But I've seen some results. Now, it's early, I guess. It's early, and they should look at the lupus thing. I don't know what it says, but there's a rumor out there that because it takes care of lupus very effectively, as I understand it, it's a drug that's used for lupus. So there's a study out there that says people that have lupus haven't been catching this virus. No, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Why don't you investigate that? I don't know. You're going to check it out. But I think people should, if it were me, in fact, I might do it anyway. I may take it.
That is one of the crookedest statements I could have ever heard. And won't you know, I've been saying this for a long time. Anybody who constantly pushes a drug like that, irrespective of what doctors are saying, irrespective of what everybody is telling you, there must be something there. Well, guess what? Come out here on Raw Story. Trump holds financial interest in pharmaceutical company that produces hydroxychloroquine. From the New York Times, reprinted or expanded on by Raw Story, placed in Salon. And here it goes. President Donald Trump's fixation with hydroxychloroquine, a drug used to treat malaria and lupus as a potential treatment for the novel coronavirus, has left many medical experts, including members of his own administration, frustrated. The drug comes with several side effects for severe side effects, ranging from nausea and hair loss to blindness and cardiac arrest. The hoarding of the drug to test it in COVID-19 patients has resulted in autoimmune patients being denied it, and the evidence that it even helps COVID-19 patients in the first place is anecdotal at best. But according to the New York Times, all of that may be secondary because some people in the president's orbit stand to profit from hydroxychloroquine is approved to treat coronavirus. The president himself, according to Peter Baker, Katie Rogers, David Enrich, and Maggie Haberman, has a financial interest in Sanofi, the French pharmaceutical company that manufactures the drug under the brand name Plaquenil. So we always knew there was something there. Some associates of Mr. Trump have financial interest in the issue. Sanofi's largest shareholders, including Fisher Asset Management, the mutual fund company run by Ken Fisher, a major donor to Republicans, including Mr. Trump, said the report. Another investor in both Sanofi and Milan, another pharmaceutical firm, is Invesco, the fund previously run by Wilbur Ross, the Commerce Secretary. As of last year, Mr. Trump reported that his three family trusts each had investments in a Dodge and Cox mutual fund, whose largest holding was in Sanofi. So, folks, understand what we're doing here. The market has crashed. Whatever investments the president and his entourage may have had in the markets, a lot of those things have tanked as well, even though they've been playing with the market. Let it rise some, profit, lose some, rise some, profit, lose some. But think about this. If Plaquenil, hydroxychloroquine, is ever approved as the standard treatment while we look for vaccine for the coronavirus, that stock is going through the roof. And why is it going through the roof? We're not talking about millions of people. We're talking about hundreds of millions of people. And if you listen to what the president said, it's deeper than that. Listen to what he says, the way he promotes it with lupus. I heard, it's been rumored that lupus patients don't get coronavirus. They don't get COVID-19 because they're on Plaquenil. So what do you think is going to happen in the black market? Oh, the black market is going to go up because there are going to be all these people who some honorable doctors won't promote Plaquenil. They won't promote the hydrochloride. They won't promote it because they know the side effects. Look, I have a wife with lupus who's on Plaquenil, and being on Plaquenil is not the easiest thing. You have to check your eyes. You have to check to make sure you're not having any counterindications, etc., etc., etc. So therefore, but think about this now. He can recover likely all his losses in the stock market if this one drug made by these few companies are hidden every single country as the treatment to coronavirus. I can understand it, and it's the New York Times just write matter of fact. Yes, he has some interest in it. Yes, his friends has some interest in it. Yes, Sanofi is a donor to the Trump administration. Yes, they have all these matter of fact things. But what I've been asking the media to do, the mainstream media, not just independent media like us, but the mainstream media at large, take it a bit deeper. Why do you want to take it deeper? Because this is how you can come to the conclusion why this mad president is trying so hard. Why he is trying so hard to make sure that people are that name Plaquenil, that name hydroxychloroquine, that name Plaquenil, that name hydroxychloroquine continues to make it into the psyche of people, because as people just hoard that drug, want that drug, it's not only that that drug is going to be sold a whole lot more, the price of that drug is going to go up as well. People, we don't have a president, we have a charlatan. We don't have a president, we have an inhumane, and I won't say the word because I try to be as kind as I can on this show. So please rest assured that that's what's going on here. We had some other stories in the Common Dreams I think I wanted to go over with you before I go any further. A day that will live in infamy. Wisconsin forced in-person voting during a pandemic. Should never, ever be forgiven, neither by the Wisconsin Supreme Court or the United States Supreme Court. It is shameful. But anyhow, folks, you know this is a program that needs your support. So give me a couple of minutes so I can ask you to please go ahead and consider supporting Politics Done Right. Please go to Please go to store.politicsdoneright.com. Again, that is store.politicsdoneright.com, and get yourself a t-shirt, a cup, a book, or whatever. Remember, we have, as I see it, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. You can either get that at our store. You can also get it at Amazon. But we prefer you get it at our store, given that we don't have a third person involved. But again, you get it however you want to. And, being an activist, somebody that supposedly, a lot of times we don't take very good care of ourselves. After my health care scare, almost a stroke, lose weight and be fit now. I had blood pressure 240 over 140, people. I decided I really had to take my health into consideration. So as I go through all that I go through here to prepare the show, to process the show, no matter what, I make sure sometime between 12 and 2 in the mornings, I am on my treadmill for an hour workout, and then I get a chance to see a documentary or two. But anyway, that's a procedure. Now, if you want to become a subscriber to Politics Done Right, please go to patreon.com/Politics Done Right. That is patreon.com/Politics Done Right. And if you look at the scroll to the bottom here, eventually you'll see all the forms that you can supply us with contributions or how you subscribe to the show. You can also supply a donation or a contribution of support at paypal.me/Politics Done Right. Again, that is paypal.me/Politics Done Right. So please, folks, consider becoming a subscriber. We need the subscribers. We need the subscribers to keep this viable. Anyhow, let me get that off the screen, and we go to the next item. We're coming close to the end of the show. The two young ladies that I brought on, one was talking about Wisconsin and also how campaigns are going to be managed going forward given the coronavirus and the spreadability of this stuff. And Nisha Randle as well was talking about those particular issues. Let me tell you, we are in a period of time where folks are concerned about going out to vote, etc. I want to put a warning out there. Those on the right, many on the right, specifically the evangelicals, they look at Donald Trump as the leader of their crusade, as their last hope to protect them from the secularists, as their last hope to protect them from you progressive liberals that want to change this country, in as much as all the things that we want are there to protect not only them, but the country as a whole. And not only that, but that the things that we stand for, the things that we strive for, the things that we want, or the things that they want, many times not saying it vociferously, but they want to. But the polarization created by a perfectly designed psychological trip is what we as progressives have got to break. And we don't break it by being like them. We break it by being the complement to them. If I get a magnet with the North Pole and a magnet with the North Pole, as I push close to that other thing, it pushes that magnet away. They have the magnet with the South Pole. We have let's create the magnet with the North Pole. And as we get closer, they are not running. As we get closer, they drag to us and we snap together. Why am I saying that? Because that is how we are going to make the change. It's not appeasing them. It's not lying to them. It's not succumbing to them. It's just not being like them as we promote the truth. As we promote the truth with them inclusively in a manner that they can also understand, in a manner that talks to them. And I don't have all the answers. I'll be frank with you. I don't have all the answers. But I know I have part of it. And how do I know I have part of it? Because I live in the bastion of red. And there are no folks out here, super conservatives out here, who know who I am, who go into Starbucks, who go into the grocery store or whatever, that sees me and doesn't want to have a conversation, even if they may want to disagree. And the reason why is trying to foment that place where dialogue can occur, trying to foment that place where you can actually, that person is not fearful to tell you their most inner thoughts, but at the same time, instead of you reacting but listening to it, not waiting your turn to talk, but listening to it, analyzing it, and then understanding where it's coming from, and when it is absolutely wrong-minded, the approach to take to get there. It's a slow process. It's a trust-building process. But once you get there, first of all, nobody's going to agree with you 100%. Progressives don't agree with progressives. But when you can come to a common cause, a common goal, that is where it's all about. Folks, we're coming close to the end of the show. We're coming to the end of the show. Please do remember to support us either by going to our store at store.politicsdoneright.com, or please, I ask thee so kindly to subscribe to our show at patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! I'm Egberto Willies, host of Politics Done Right, an independent news program. I post several news videos of interest every day. I ask you so kindly to subscribe to my channel, and please leave me some comments. Thank you very much.